Welcome back to The Ether, the show that disrupts the way you think about running your business. Join me, Brandon, and my co-host, Sean Delaney, the creator of What If, on today's episode. Our goal is to provide context around what we talk about so you have the clarity to cut through the noise and the confidence to grow and run a truly harmonious business. Let's jump in and take the next step to achieving business freedom. Welcome back to The Ether. What's going on, Sean?
We look like those people.
We do. We are impersonating The Ether hosts today because they're traveling to Seattle this week.
That's right.
Just kidding. It's us, but we are traveling to Seattle this week. Should we give a shout out?
Shout it out.
Shout it out.
We
are going to Seattle. Yes, we are. We are joining the Final Percent, an incredible mastermind. Greg is our host. Hugh, our good friend, our buddy, invited us in, and we're jacked up. Sean, you are speaking on their stage about business, and you're going to disrupt some people's mindsets about how they're running their business.
Not only am I speaking on the stage, they actually invited me to do it. Sometimes I just run up on
we should clarify that.
It's actually with their permission this time. Hey, fantastic. So I'm really excited about it. It looks like they put on a very a terrific event, very Prince-like. Some might say, one might say, I might say, I just did say. So I'm excited. That's it.
I am equally as excited. I've never been to Seattle. It's my first time. I've been to the West Coast plenty of times, but never Seattle. I've heard great things. So we'll see. We're going to give a full review next week, I'm sure, on the Ether. And yeah, we got a lot going on, but we're here to talk about gamification part 2.
Yes.
We started this conversation a couple of weeks ago. You were on the Professor Game podcast with the host, Rob Alvarez. Shout out, Rob. You're a rock star. That episode dropped live this week. So all of that will be in the show notes down below. I'm going to do my best to also put a link in the comments here for those of you watching live. So I'll get that in a second. But gamification part 2. Part 1, awesome discussion. The conversation with Rob, really awesome discussion. So, a little step down, but now I want to go back and take a step up and talk about gamification in hiring specifically. Do you know why I want to talk about that specifically?
Why do you want to talk about that specifically?
Because I ran out of topics to talk about. No, I'm kidding. Because this is an area in most small businesses that people struggle with. Yes. I've been talking to clients all week, and all of them have said the same story, where it's so hard to find people in this market. Nobody wants to work. And I'm like, BS. I just don't think we're looking for people the right way. And we have a good, effective tool to understand who somebody is other than a resume. And there's a million tools out there, but resumes, I just don't know why we haven't gotten past that as like the baseline of evaluating who a human being is.
Yeah. It's not true that nobody wants to work.
Not true. But nobody wants to work. All right, nobody wants to work hard. Inherently, part of the beauty of our model, our business architecture, is that we accept the fact that people are inherently lazy when it comes to the things that they don't enjoy doing. So you say, "Oh, you're so lazy. You never go outside and cut the grass and trim the hedges," because I can't stand that. So it seems like I'm lazy, but I'm not used. Is this me? I love cutting the grass. So this isn't me. So this is just hypothetical person. You seem lazy because you're not doing these things, because all of those things suck. Like my kids, they're not lazy. They're lazy about their chores. They are really super excited about putting Lego things together and doing all the other shenanigans that they do. So if nobody wants to work for you, it's because your jobs are work. You've made them work. You've made this place a place where people come to work, not a place where people come to play. And you can get just as much, if not more, out of people if they feel like this is a place where their work is play. That's why, Brandon, people say, you guys don't work very hard. It seems like you're having too much fun. Correct. All of that is true. By design. Yes. So if that is the case, and we're going to change things to inject a little bit of fun where it makes sense, fun with purpose, business fun, if we're going to inject that in there, then we might as well start with the very first way they interact with us, which is in our job postings. If they're not a client, they interact with the brand either because they're a consumer of it or an interfacer with it or an applicant to it and an aspiring employee of it. So this is one of the first faces out, which is how was the job description written? Did it attract me specifically? Because wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. Oh my God, they're paying me to do this. Yes. Why am I creepy Joe Biden whispering into the let's not do that again. All right. So can you believe they're paying me to do this? It's a really, really fun job, fun place to work, meaningful to me, all those things. So we have to start with how we source the people and how we find them. And how we know that how you do anything is how you do everything. And we can talk about some examples of that, Brandon. And so why not start with seeing not how people say they work, but watching how they play. Because if they can't play in your sandbox that you've created when times are good, well, then when times are bad and we're struggling to meet deadlines or correct something in our processes or change the world in some way and the heat gets turned up, that team is going to break apart really fast. So let's see if we can play together.
So let's play a little bit. Now I don't think we can dive into this because you mentioned it without mentioning navigation a teeny tiny bit. So when you talked about creating fun job descriptions, of course, that's going to stem from your company culture, right? Your core values, your mission, and your vision. We've done several episodes on that. If you need help finding them, shoot us a message. I will send you all 15 of them. But I don't want to go super deep down that path. It is worth mentioning that this is where all of this comes from. So if you haven't set up your company in the right way, if you don't have a clear navigation, this is going to be maybe not hard, but it's not going to be as effective, not as cohesive from beginning to end, which is a really important note to just throw out there.
And worse, the games that you create, the fun that you are trying to create in your business will misfire because it's not really aligned with the core values that you have. It's not really helping you get to where you're going. It's not on brand. The brand is not just outward facing, it's inward facing as well. It just doesn't feel right. So if we had some kind of game here and it just didn't feel like a what if kind of thing, it was an onerous, boring, terrible game with like no colors, just all gray pieces, varying shades of gray, sort of according to size. And terrible game would be so off brand. So if you don't know who you are and you don't know what your mission is and your vision, then when you're trying to solve things or make the day-to-day more gamified, more fun, you're gonna misfire, and then people are gonna be annoyed in that moment. There are times where it's just not right. We work in an ER. There's people coming in with bullet holes, and you're playing a game around it. Yeah, I'm playing. I'm playing rainbow bingo with the people coming in. Oh, he's got a red shoe. I see red. No. Off-brand, misfire, and now it's off-putting, and it's just detracting from what you're trying to achieve.
For example, I would love to work in that environment. I would be terrible there.
That might be pretty good. Yeah.
So I'm not qualified to be a doctor or cut anybody open, but I want to work in that hospital.
Oh. Well, then it sounds like that's the hospital you belong in.
Exactly. All right. So then let's put this together. So where should we start? We should probably start with a little bit of touching on, because you mentioned it, job descriptions and making them fun, but also on brand. So what are some ways people can do that? Because I've never seen one written like it was signing up for a game for play. It's all, here's the tasks, here's what you are responsible for, here's the pay. It's very boring. How do you spice that up?
So simple in how I describe it, maybe a little harder in the execution, but you write it as if you are describing to someone the game. Like, hey, we've got an opportunity where you can help us achieve this mission. The mission is this. And if you think that mission's cool and you want to go on that trip with us, then here's how you can play with us. You can come in and you can handle the logistics for this. And you start describing the things as if they're part of this quest, this mission that you're all on. Every quest, think of it as I'm putting together. It's like a Lord of the Rings, this is the band of adventurers who are going to bring the ring back to Mordor. Okay, so we're going to, and we need different kinds of skills. On this particular quest, one of the things is we don't have somebody who does this. They're the one that carries this, moves this from here to here, and does this. Without them, our quest is doomed. So in as part of this, part of the reward you will be getting for this is fair compensation and blah, blah, blah. That's your share of the treasure. Are you willing to go on this journey with us? Please bring your sword and shield. This address tell us the following things. Here's how I fit in. Here's how I could join your merry band of warriors on this quest to do whatever. Blah. That's how you want it. You tell them that's, I'm making all this up, obviously, right now, but saying, so now I know what the job is. I know what the company's about to do. I know sort of how I fit into their entire mission and how I would fit into the team around me. Because you've described what you would need to achieve this mission, and now I know the piece that's missing. And wow, I'm smart enough to actually apply in the way you're telling me to apply, because that happens a lot. You just ask somebody, tell me in a 2-minute video why you would want this job. And they're like, I'm camera shy. Forget it. Like, or I'm just going to ignore it and send you an email application instead. No, you can't even follow the simplest of tasks. If you can't apply right. But now I see the person's willing to go through our application process. They think it was fun. They weren't off put by the way that we were wording things and describing things. They thought it was unique. It told us how they could fit into the team. Now let's meet with them and see if it feels genuine, if they really are playing, or they're just in it for the share of treasure at the end. Because we've all seen fantasy stories. The one that just has his eye on the treasure the whole time is not really in it for all the reasons that the rest of us are in it.
They're the villain, usually. They're the villain in that story, usually.
The villain in that story. So that was just one example of kind of, and we could have fleshed it out more than that and made it all in on the fantasy theme, but in a brand fun way. I've seen some corporations are trying to do this now, where they're getting a little, they're not taking themselves so seriously, because that's the culture they really do have, and they were following this archaic system of everything looks the same. All applying for all jobs look and feel the same. And so if your application that you're putting out there for somebody that you want looks the same, it's just one more gray sheet asking for the same bits of information, half of which are lies, which you know and they know, and we're going to play that whole game. That's not a fun game, because nobody wins in that game. You get to the end of it and go, this sucked. We're still shooting from the hip at hit or miss with the people we're hiring, and half these people are unhappy. Yeah, because you didn't really describe what your environment was and what you needed of them, because you were following some template. And so it was a crapshoot as to whether they were going to fit in with where they are and what you're doing. So why do that? So be immediately disruptive by being exactly who you are, exactly on brand. That gets people's attention. And yeah, they go, oh, but then what if I don't get enough applicants for that?
Good.
How many are you looking for? 100? That sounds horrible. I don't want 100 applicants. How many job openings do we have? 1. I kind of want to find one person. Well, can't write it for just one person. Well, I'm going to write it for somebody a lot like that one person. And there might be 10 of them. 10 sounds like a lot better interviews than doing 100 and have them all be wrong. I'm going to write, and it's, again, just a crapshoot that somebody's going to find this job on that day and be the perfect fit for the culture. No, I'm going to write it as if they're inside the walls. This is how we act. This is who we are. This is how we write them. If you don't like it, it wasn't the one for you. You'll find that diamond in the rough then, and you'll enjoy the interview process.
Yeah, I want to get to the interview process next, because that's the second, probably a little bit more important component. But as you were describing that, I was thinking, as a child of the 90s, I'll date myself. I'll let people know how old I am. But I remember specifically, like, there were always these toy commercials on like Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, and they would advertise board games. And as you were describing, like, the quest and here's your partner, I was thinking of those commercials. So you're almost writing like a 30-second trailer of your company and your culture, and enticing people to buy this board game or this video game, whatever it was, and it just so happens to be a job that they're going to have and have fun in. I don't know why that imagery popped in my head, but I thought it was so cool because I'm sure a lot of people can relate to something similar they've seen on TV, but it's not describing the tasks and functions. It's inviting them into this opportunity, this story, this journey, as you said, which is really, really cool.
And you said the thing about forget how you phrased it, but it made me think of these job postings are also advertisement for you and what your brand is about. So you've got 100 people, you've got one job, 100 people apply, 99 people could be really pissed at you and your company and your products, or they could have not gotten it and still aspire to it and go, wow, that was great from beginning to end. See, that's why I really want to work there. And they could be advocates for you and your brand out in the world still. So, because that happens sometimes. It's like, we're the happiest place in the world. And then you go through their interview process and go, those pricks, I hate them. And I'll never go to their theme parks again. I don't know. I don't want to make it like I'm taking shots at Disney. That's not what I'm talking about. But so you understand that even posting a job is brand out facing. People are seeing you out in the world. So how you do anything is how you do everything. So if they see you not playing right there, but claiming you are something else, that already causes some dissonance. There's some inauthenticity there, and we already start eroding the brand promise of, hey, you can trust us. What we say is who we are.
Yeah, one of the other things you said, I just want to highlight really quick because it's so powerful in terms of filtering the 100 down to the 3 or hopefully fewer. A practice that I always had when posting jobs. So first and foremost, I never looked at a resume. To hire anybody in my career, I've hired dozens of people. I've looked at them. I've never used them to influence my decision of whether or not to interview the person. So that we're just going to keep off to the side. The little golden nugget you offered of having a specific instruction on how to apply, I can't tell you how much time that has saved me over the years because I always my culture, I love to have fun in just life in general. I always put like a ridiculous subject line. You must put this to apply to this job posting. I don't care what else is in your email, but you have to have this. I would say maybe 10 to 20% of applicants on a good day would actually follow that instruction.
Yeah.
People would follow up and be like, did you get my email? I'm like, no, you didn't follow the direction of putting this subject line. So I'm not going to look at you for this job. And that will save you if you are a company who gets dozens or even hundreds of applicants on your jobs. Please just do that. If you take nothing else from this episode, take that one little thing. It's magic. I promise.
It is a big one. All right. So should we talk about the interview?
You got to dive into the interview. Yes. Yeah. So this to me is where I think it's the most risky part because you have these people. I'm sure I've said it on this podcast. I know I've said it on others. You have professional interviewers where they know how to look the part. They know how to answer the questions. They know how to, air quotes, be professional and seem like a good fit for the job. I want to know more who the human being is. And if you stay around to the end, we have a fun little, I don't know, a service we'll say that you can use to know more about that. But we'll drop that gold nugget at the end. But for now, how do you find out who somebody is when you don't know them for more than 5 minutes? That part of the interview process, I'm sure, is the most complex for every small business.
So, there's like 4. Let me tell you a story.
Tell us a story.
And then we can pick about the story. We can find. So, I was hiring for. This was way back when I worked at MetLife, and nobody really was doing this kind of thing. I needed to find. It's kind of a unique job that I was sourcing for. We were internal consultants who had to be incredibly skilled, like that. Like I had to be able to point to resumes and say these people could kick McKinsey's ass in a minute. We had that, so we had to have super skilled people, but they were at a low level, but they were going to be interacting with really high level people and had to be able to hold their own against some of the biggest personalities in the company, senior executives. And here they come in as a manager trying to tell these these people how to run things differently. So it was kind of a unique thing, and they had to have the mix of quality and understanding quality management and project management, whole host of other things. So you can imagine the flood of resumes that all just kind of looked the same. They're all Six Sigma certified. They're all, they have, it's just a sea of the same kind of thing. And you're not going to find anybody by asking them about really, really rib tickling ISO, 2000 standards, laugh a minute kind of joke. Like, there's nothing fun about it. It's the driest kind of thing in the world. But I need people who are not dry, can thrive in this culture, and hold their own when they have to. So I decided I'm just not even going to worry about this kind of things. I'm going to put them already on their heels, because they are going to have to be able to be not put on their heels. They have to deal with executive nut jobs at this place. much love, MetLife, but they're the same as every other company. So there's a bunch of wackos up there, and they've got to be able to walk in and hold their own. And I really want to see more how they think about problems and how they interact in these situations than anything they're going to tell me that they read in a book or were trained to get their MBAs, which are incredibly meaningless to me. So I would ask things like, so we'll talk about the game that I'm playing in a minute. But I would ask things like, so Brandon, it's Brandon, right? So Brandon, you wake up, you're in the middle of the forest. There are 4 roads leading from where you are to somewhere. You hear wolves, a lot of them. You got to get out of the woods. What do you do?
Me personally, I panic because I don't like spiders, and I can already imagine that there's millions of them around. So yeah. I'm in flight, or I'm in freeze.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Beautiful. And you know what? And so I love the answer because it was authentic. You answered it in the spirit in which it was being asked, and you played with it. There are a lot of different ways people could handle that. Some could ask so many questions, especially if they're quality control kind of people, and they think I'm trying to catch them in something. And so I remember Rachel, I did ultimately hire her. She probably asked 60 questions before I finally just said, gonna move anytime soon? Like, are we gonna, because it was, well, do I hear anything down there? Oh, good. And I just would make up the answers. Yeah, you can hear some rustling to the left down here this way. Could be, well, is it the wind? I don't know. Right. Or yes, it definitely is. Good question. Okay, yes. I don't know. It was all, there was no right answer. She was obsessed with getting the right answer. I knew exactly who she was going to be when she showed up. Despite what MBA program she was in, who cares? I know what's going to happen. And I know whether or not she would get totally rattled or address it that way. And some people ask no questions and they just go, I don't know. I go north. I'm like, how do you know which way is north? I don't know, whatever. I go that way. This was great. Thanks for coming in. Well, what? That was it? Yes. Because you are no fun. I know no fun. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When I'm out with my friend. Oh, you turn it on and off. What are those doofuses like? Your friends. Tell them not to apply either. So I have one guy come in for this job, Six Sigma this and quality that. And he walks in and he reeked of self-love. And he was just so enamored with himself. It was clearly just, he had this in the bag. And it was just very off-putting. And I'm like, I kind of like this guy. So I didn't want to play the forest game with him. So he sits down. He's got this 3-page resume sitting there. And I said, so you're a clearly quality expert, like the finest. Money, you're lucky to be in the room. Oh, yeah, I'm so I go, great. Would it surprise you if I told you that I found 5 typos in your resume? The color drains from his face. And I had led up to it too. I'd ask a couple of questions. Great, because quality is, yes. And it's super important to be all over everything. Yeah. Like anything could screw this up. I put you in front of a senior executive and there's one thing wrong. They're going to chew you up and spit you out. Oh my God. Well, hey, look, you don't have to worry about that with me. I cross every T and dot every I. And I go, great. So would it surprise you if I told you I found 5 typos in your resume? Color drains from his face. He's like, well, and he goes like this to lean forward to see. And I like kind of pull it back towards me. And I go, would it surprise you if I told you I found 5 typos in your resume? And he goes, well, I didn't even type that up. I go, who typed it up? He goes, my secretary. Secretary. Okay. And I go, I'm sorry? You used some other company's employees, their assets, to type up your resume so you could apply somewhere else?
It's went well for him.
That's the kind of loyalty that you have? And he goes, well, I said, now when we talk about being able to keep your cool under pressure, this is the best you've got. And he's like, and he goes, oh, okay. Could I take a minute and start over? I go, no. He's like, he goes, I'm not getting this job, am I? I go, no, you're not. I mean, we can keep playing, but no. And he's like, oh my God, it's so harsh. I go, what's harsh about it? And then he's like, okay. I go, no, it's just, this was exactly what I needed to see because it told me everything. And he's like, all right, well, he goes, could I ask you where the typos were in the resume so I could correct them? I go, I don't know if there's any. I didn't even read it. And he was like, he goes, but you said there were typos. I said, I asked, would you be surprised if I told you I found 5 typos? And with that slightest of jab, you cowered back and lost your footing. So you should have said, I'd be very surprised. We just talked about what an expert I am in quality. Then that would be embarrassing. And we would have laughed and moved on. No. So
that's awesome.
I mean, that one, it kind of was a tricky game. That's a trick. But I wanted to see. That's what I was. That might not be appropriate for every job. I needed to find out, how does he handle himself when he's in a pressure cooker one-on-one with somebody who is going to try to poke holes in what he's saying and not have to change? And you're 4 levels below them on the totem pole. Can you speak truth to power and hold your own? Even when they're making shit up. There's 10. Did you even read it? No. Good. That's how you handle it. Not my. I had someone else type it. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's good.
Which
Talk about
wasn't true.
accepting ability too. It's like there's so many different things that went wrong there.
He didn't actually, and I don't think he did have somebody else type up his resume. I think he was just trying to say, I didn't do it. Well, who would have?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just the lack of accepting responsibility is another, for me, that would have been bigger than the loyalty piece. Is just like, just say you messed up. It's
by the time I said loyalty, by the time I got to that part, I was just riffing because it's like, I'm just going to see how much I can crank the screws on him to see how he handles it. Can he get himself out of it? Yes, the number one thing was, you either stole company assets or you're
a liar.
Lying to me again because you passed blame. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. You can't be on this team. You're a piece of garbage.
See you later.
So, but he has his MBA. Had his MBA.
Gotta love a good MBA. It's very clear I don't have one, and that's okay because I don't need one. But talk to me about the other side of hiring. That's more of a, I don't want to call it a negative example, but that's a little harsh. And we're a fun culture. We don't want to have to go there.
So the good examples are like the ones that did get the job, the ones that say, oh, okay, let's play this game. And they try to frame it out together. And then we're creating the game together. I can even say, oh, all right, cool. So let's then assume, you assume this in the game. How do we figure this out? And now we're playing together. So we can play together in this conversation. That's the positive, right? I mean, the day I met you, essentially, I was interviewing you for the job. Like, come do this thing with me because we could play together. We knew we could play together first. We had enough trust to have ridiculous conversations, to laugh our asses off at a ridiculous theme park. But look at what we were doing. We didn't talk about what if first. We talked about some ridiculous app that we got an idea for and started playing the game of how would we build this company? And it was fun. And you brought up great points. And you thought of it from all different kinds of angles, from the ridiculous all the way to that. We can actually make $1 billion with this thing, right? That entire thing was why you're sitting right there. Because we first established core values. Hey, we already knew we thought enough alike because we were in somebody else's mastermind together. And so their pitch worked for both of us. So we're both kind of looking for the same thing in the same direction. So that already you had. Then we see that our values align. And then we were starting to play. And so then that way, at that night, when we came up with this whole thing, which was really just a comedy sketch turned into actual product that could change the world.
What could have been.
What could have been. We're doing this one instead that can change the world. But and then that game that we were playing with both, it displayed all the things that you would bring to the table if we were to do that here. So now we're doing that here.
So that's it. Games in your hiring process. Now here's the real question. So I teased it before. What if there was a way where you didn't have to go through the nonsense of filtering through resumes and asking boring interview questions and trying to figure out who people were? And what if there was a way to know who somebody was without talking to them?
Know everything about them, Brandon?
Everything. What drives
them? How they show up, what excites them about work?
How they show up, if they would be a good fit for the role, if they'd be a good fit for the company.
How about how they play together with the other people around them, with their teammates?
If they can play together with the other people on the team, if that existed, that would be a miracle, would it not?
Now that would be a trick to say.
It would. Well, I have friends. We have friends. I think Toby Keith said the song. We have friends in low places. We have friends in high places here at What If. Smart places, way cooler places than most people would ever play. And I'm just going to toss it out there. Our friends over at HumanOp have this technology, and we want to give them a shout out, humanoptech.com. So moral of the story is it's a very quick assessment. It takes maybe 10 minutes or so to take it, and you will know everything about you. You will know more about you than you know about you after taking this assessment. It continues to blow my mind every single day. We are blessed to be able to work with these folks, and this technology will solve the problem of hiring culture, people, everything associated with people in your business. They solve that problem in less than 20 minutes, guaranteed. It's amazing.
Someday there will be no wars because of this. For now, let's just make your business more harmonious. Well done over there, HumanOp Tech.
We love you, HumanOp Tech. So this was fun. If you want to play games, we encourage you to play games to figure out who people really are and how they show up. And I hope this was helpful and insightful. If you want to go the second mile, if you will, the last mile, and go over at HumanOp Tech and visit them, take the assessment. I also highly encourage it. Full disclosure, we get nothing from this. That is just their website. There's no affiliates. There's no commission. No nothing. This is just us having really cool friends who also want to change the world and help you grow your small business. So Sean, we're going to go to Seattle. We're going to talk to way more really cool people, and we're going to come back and we'll break it all down next week. You up for that?
Yes, let's do that. Let's go there. Blow some minds, have our minds blown back in return, have my hair blown back. And then we'll close the window on the plane, Brandon. And then we'll come back and we'll break it all down.
Are you flying on a Boeing? Because the window might open itself.
Doors are optional.
This was fun. Let's not get canceled. We'll see you next week.